So let's bring it back in, everyone. So what the direction I want to go now is, now that you understand a little bit about modifying more complex geometry, we're still sticking with the rectilinear forms, except we're going to move down in scale, and then eventually, for the last half of the semester, we're going to start to get into some, really crazy warpy forms and stuff like that. But I want you to start thinking about assemblies now, right? So we've got this, you know, group of surfaces that are essentially all one family. And if you think about the building facade and then the site as an assembly, it's kind of like that. They have a relationship, and so they need to be modeled accurately to one another. So the first kind of step down is to think about how would you do a curtain wall condition or storefront condition. Basically, it's a window with mullions or aluminum frames. Um, the way that that's typically done in an architectural model in something like Rhino is to create extrusions of surfaces, and then you apply materials to them. So ultimately what that becomes is a set of layers that you can modify the materials for in the layers. So layer 4, or if you guys don't have layer 4, just create a new layer and call it mullions, mullions, and then create another layer and call it glazing. So I'm going to start on glazing, because glazing is actually the easiest part. And remember what I was telling you about how the corners don't have to be absolutely perfect in every condition? For our uses, it does not have to be perfect in every condition. In a very similar manner, the modeling doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. For instance, let me go to this. So a curtain wall is actually a very intricate piece of equipment, I guess you would say, or architectural component. It's made up of aluminum extrusions that have, pockets and gaskets and hardware, and they're mounted with bolts and screws and stuff like that. So, but you don't have to model all of that for almost all of your purposes when you're doing a representational model. You're not going to actually go in and model the profile of this mullion like it is built here. What you're going to do, because all you see in a Rhino model is the exterior of it, you're basically just going to model a rectangle and extrude it. And the good thing about the visibility consideration is that if you just have kind of the outside of an extrusion here, you don't have to worry about creating a separate plane for every single surface in your curtain wall. So, curtain wall, not section, curtain wall. So when you look at sort of an overall curtain wall condition, kind of like this is a little more typical. The mullions are just extrusions, rectangular extrusions, and the glazing is basically going to be just one surface, because it's okay for a surface to pass through the mullions, because you're not going to see it. So the workflow for something like that is, the way I kind of typically start it is I'll create a profile wherever that profile needs to be, whether it's in plan or elevation or something like that. So I'm going to start just by creating a polyline, and I'm going to anchor it using near. So when you turn the near object snap on, you have the opportunity to kind of hover over the back edge of the space. And so for me, I'm not necessarily worried about it being super accurate right now. I just want to show you what it looks like. So I'm just going to click here. And at that point, actually, I'm going to go into the top view. So I know that this line is currently anchored in three-dimensional space to the top side of my second floor. But when I go into the top view, I can't ensure, well, it happens to be going there, but if I don't hold shift, it's going to hop down to the bottom. See that in perspective? Whoops, no. Okay, so I'm sort of off in space here in the top view. If I hold shift, it'll be planar, or you can turn project on. Oh, you have to turn it on ahead of time. I forgot. So I can hold shift and go out however far I need it to go. But I'm going to type in something even, 16 feet. Actually, I'll make it 24 feet. And I'm going to go this way 32 feet.
You said you have to have project on before you start the polygon?
Yeah. Then I'm going to go back this way, and I'm just going to anchor it back to the back side of my edge. So pretty simple at this point. It's just no, not closed. It's an open one. So for the actual glazing now, the height of it, it's just going to be an extrusion. There's really nothing else you need to do. So I'm going to say extrude. Actually, yeah, let me do this. What I want to do, because I want to make sure that it's going to go all the way back to this top corner. So I'm going to pull this back so that the line in plan view sits farther back than this top edge. You see how I did that? In the top view, this is what I grabbed. I just slid it back so that it was a little bit beyond in the top view. And so now I'm going to do a Control Shift Select. Oh no, you can't. Move edge. Oh, darn. Well, I'll do my extrusion first. So extrude curve, and you won't be able to make it solid. So all you have to do at this point is either in the front view or in perspective, it'll work too. You just want to select a point, any point that's on the bottom side of the floor above, and click. So now it's kind of hanging off the back there. The surface now I can pull out, so I'm just going to kind of push it forward 16 feet, and this is what I get.
Why do you move it back?
I moved it back so that I can do this. I'm just going to trim and select this surface, hit enter, trim that out, and trim that out. And then when I go into wireframe, I want to make sure I trim out everything on the inside as well. So
No, at the first one you put it back, move it back.
that's why, so that I could trim it. So I moved it back so that I could use the trim command to make it so that it's truncated along the angle. Otherwise, if all I had was my curve up front, let me just pull it up for you real quick here. If I had my curve up front and I did my extrude and I anchored it at the top, let me pull this one off here for a sec. Then when I look at it at the side, I'm going to have a big gap.
No, you move it completely and in the corner after that near kind of like that space. I thought you just move it back.
No. Okay, so what I would like to see is that you've gotten to a point where you have a surface that spans from the top of one of your levels to the bottom of the level above, and then we'll move forward into actually creating the mullion conditions. All right, so what questions do you have? All right.